You got to figure out how to start it. I mean, like, you have to figure this out. These things need to be understood at a certain point. And when you don't understand them, there's an issue.
What's the issue?
Great question. Let's dive into that. What is an issue and what is a problem?
Whoa. What is it?
That's why I'm asking.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to the In the Fire podcast. We appreciate you, whether you're listening on Spotify, iTunes, or watching us on YouTube. We love you. Welcome to the podcast.
Appreciate you. Welcome to the podcast.
Yes. Check out the Patreon link in bio. It is our most important link where you guys can come and join us and be a part of the family,
Conversate
be a part
with
of
us.
the community where we can conversate on a daily.
Fire groups,
pray for each other.
life groups, man. Come on.
It's amazing. You have to be a part of it.
Bible study
Go
together.
check it
be
out.
a part of that. Q&A, be a part of that.
Yeah, all of that. I mean, extra video content. You don't want to miss out. You really, really don't. So check that out if you want to make some awesome Christian friends around the world.
Yes.
How are you? You know? How are you?
Feeling good, honestly.
Yeah?
Feeling better. Feeling more focused. Knowing what I got to do.
I like that.
Just, when you're on your prayer game, when you're praying and stuff, it just... There's a difference.
There is a difference. I like that.
So, yeah.
That's good.
Pretty good, man. Just focused up. That's all I can say.
That's what's up.
Also, it was funny. I was curious on what was the way to say it, like little habits I have when speaking. And I didn't think I have any. Remember during we had a young adult service, and then one of these guys I know, he did something that I didn't thought I did it, but I guess I do it a lot. He's like, guys.
Yeah. You do that a lot. I
was like, when I asked that question, I was like, I don't think I have any of those. Like, I'm just very...
Instantly, everybody got up. They're like, I have one.
Yeah, it's like, bro, oh, okay.
I have one right now. I'll do it right now. If you're watching, this is what Louis does. He goes,
what do I do? Okay, yeah. I'm aware of.
And if you're listening, it's messing with his hair, playing with his curls.
Yeah. I'm aware
He does that all day long. All day long.
I don't know. You should have saw me when I had long hair. Oh my gosh, I had so much hair to play with. I'd be in the back, be in the middle.
We went live on Instagram today, and somebody called you out on that.
Yeah,
like,
that's
Louis
so
always
funny.
playing with his hair.
Yo, you guys really do know me, yo. So funny.
No, that's awesome. It sounds good that you're focused.
Yeah,
that
for
you're
sure,
ready.
man. 100%.
You sound like you're refreshed by the Spirit.
Yeah,
that's good.
Definitely.
That's awesome.
Just focused up.
I like that.
It's good. God, when you know what God wants you to work on, just focus up on that.
Mm-hmm. I'm actually dealing with this topic. So this topic is perfect, and I'm ready. And I think
uncertainty.
It's gonna speak to me as I speak and as you speak.
Interesting.
As we conversate. So as much as it's gonna help me, I hope it helps you guys. So
100%.
make sure you guys stick to the end. But today we are talking about faith
in the face of uncertainty.
Yeah. Uncertainty.
Isn't that a place to be in?
Yeah. What does that look like? I mean, life throws a lot of those. And honestly, I think those are the hardest ones to deal with because we are not in control. And when we are not in control, we feel powerless, helpless. We feel like everything's falling apart. Things that you just don't know. Like if somebody were to ask you, your answer is honestly, I have no idea. How are you going to deal with this? Honestly, I have no idea. That may be financially. Like, I don't know if I'm going to have enough money next week.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm going to have a place to stay next month. I don't know if I'm still going to have a job my next season. I don't know if I'm still going to have a marriage or a relationship, whatever it is. Like, you're going through stuff where it seems as if life is throwing curveball after curveball and you don't know how to deal with it. You're kind of in this place where your only option is to rely on God because you have zero power to change anything. Maybe somebody is sick and you're like, I don't know if this person is still going to be here next week.
Crazy.
And so it's like that stuff, it's stuff that you can't control, and in that moment is when your faith is truly tested in the face of uncertainty because you have no idea what's about to happen. And the only person that knows and has the power to change anything is God in that moment. And honestly, that's how it is with everything. But certain situations seem more uncertain to us.
No, for sure. for sure. And I mean, when I think about it, instantly what I think about is with a verse in James when it says, you know, be joyful when trials and all these things like come across you.
Yeah.
And it's just like, doesn't make sense. Like, how do you want me to be happy? But it's just so weird because, you know, this is a time of uncertainty where we're worrying. And it's like natural. It's like, how can you know, we shouldn't feel bad that we're worrying because, like, you know, that's just like us. Like, of course I'm going to worry about a certain situation that's going on. Like, is this the right way? Is it not the right way? Should I do this? Should I do that? It's scary.
Yeah.
You know, and so for it to say, like, you know, take joy, and for the Bible to have this like perspective of be happy when this happens, because you know that at the end of it, your faith will increase. And I mean, sure, but like, I'm dying over here. Like, I'm scared. And like having that view of the Bible that the Bible has, and the disciples have had, where the Paul and James have, all of them had this, like they understood this, which is, you know, of course, I think after a few times when you go through something like this, like I think I said in the other episode, like after you go through it so many times, it's like eventually you're gonna be like, I know God's got me, right? So that this perspective the Bible gives of like, yo, like be joyful when this happens because God's gonna come through. And after you come out of this, you're going to see God and how he's come through for you. And then the next time when it's something the same or something similar or something a little like maybe even, I don't know, worse or more intense, you'll have even more faith for that. And it would just keep on going and going until, like, I don't know, you'll have this crazy faith that no matter what happens, like, you are chilling because you know God.
Isn't that,
know what's going to happen.
That's such a beautiful goal to reach.
Yeah.
Do you imagine living a life like that where anything that happens, you're like, God's got me?
Crazy.
Honestly, I think a person like that would annoy me. I'd be like, bro,
what are you
don't
doing?
Like, don't you see everything that's happening and you're over here with a smile on your face? Like,
face the reality.
How?
You got me thinking of Job.
Yeah. I mean, it's really hard to get to that point.
Yeah, it is.
But I think as you walk with God, we get closer and closer to that point. I don't know if we'll ever fully reach it.
But I
mean, maybe like on the last day of your life,
you'll be like,
maybe you'll get close. But to a point where you fully 100% rely on God, where every little thing in your life could be going wrong, you're like, nah, I'm good. God's got me. I'm good. God's got me.
Man, and that's the faith that we all want.
Yeah.
You know, that's such
a beautiful faith.
I've had those thoughts a while ago, you know, of just like, man, like to be a man, you know, who with anything, when God tells me one thing, whatever God tells me or whatever situation I'm in, that I just depend 100% on him. And whatever he says, I'm going to just obey that and be in that at all times. Like that fully, like, I think I've spoken about it to you before, this life of like 110% like surrender, which is just so hard to get to because of sin, because of selfish desires, because of the flesh and its laziness and all these things, you know, I can name them all of them. But to get to that place of 110% surrender of like, man, I'm just like everything in my whole being, everything that I do is just on God. And like, I am like God's like son, his servant. I'm doing all these things for God. Like that is like, which is Jesus.
Right.
You know, and so we aim for that every day, man. That faith that like, no matter what's happening of uncertainty. Oh my gosh, bro. And I don't know if who guys have seen The Chosen. For those who have seen The Chosen.
Yeah.
And like, what was that one scene that got me like in my bag, yo? Like, of like, well, I don't want to spoil it, but like.
No, I mean, it's been out for a while.
Yeah, I mean, it's like spoiling the Bible.
Okay.
But like that scene they had of just, you know, with Peter on the boat and him walking on the water.
Yeah.
And, or not even that, every time, you know, in that moment or in the moment when they gave the food, you know, that the when Jesus fed the 5,000 people, you know, and then every time Jesus like, do you still not get it yet?
What? Dude.
Bro, come on. Yo. It's like, do you still not get it yet?
Wow.
It's like, what? And like, of course he doesn't answer it, but like, of course we know what that means. Like, even in the storm, you know, when Jesus was sleeping in the boat and there was a huge storm happening and the disciples were like, yo, wake up, Jesus, we're about to die. And he's like, he wakes up and rebukes it. And he's like, where's your faith?
Yeah.
Do you still not get it yet? And it's like, he says that each time. And it's like, what am I not getting? Oh, I'm not getting the fact that he got me. He's got me. I can have faith in him.
That's so hard though.
And it's just crazy because like, of course, to Jesus, it's just like whatever. Of course, yeah, rebuke it, whatever, you know. And I know I'm good. He, you know, I don't think Jesus ever worried about what he was going to eat tomorrow.
No, I don't think.
You know what I mean? And it's like that level of faith and like, do you not get it yet? Like, I get it. What I get is that God will always provide and lead because he is our heavenly Father who always looks at us and like, you know, Look at the sparrows, how he feeds them. They don't even work for their food, yet God feeds the birds. And how much more important are you than a bird? It's just all these things, man. It's like, man, just that faith of just knowing that he's got us, which is just so hard to get to.
Yeah, I mean, I put myself in the shoes of the disciples in that moment.
And it's like, yeah, I would probably act the same.
Exactly. Maybe worse. I'd be like, yo.
I'd probably be jumping up and down doing backflips like, yo, Jesus, no, we're going to die. He's like, well, of course, you know what I mean? This is like, it just makes sense. Of course I get worried. Of course I get scared.
Yeah.
But it's I guess to a point when you go through so many things, you just realize it.
Yeah.
You know?
I've had moments like that where I feel things falling apart in a way. You know, it's as if, all right, this is how I feel when certain things happen in my life, is I feel like the enemy understands that, all right, my faith is strong in a sense. Mm-hmm. And so if he throws one thing at me, it doesn't faze me that much. I'm like, God's got me, right? My faith starts to decrease the more and more things pile up in a matter of a day or a week. And so I feel like the enemy knows that, because I could be chilling, like I'm doing good, like everything's amazing for a solid month, maybe more, whatever time frame. Then all of a sudden, one day or even 1 week, boom, one thing after the other. Literally every 3 hours, something worse is happening. Like something's happening. Things with my family are happening, things with friends, like everything just seems to like just one dark day. And that gets me in a totally messed up mood, which ends up turning into a ripple effect, which affects how I act towards people and how I act towards things, which makes me more upset because I just made somebody upset that I really care about just because of my attitude. And then it all piles up. And the enemy knows that. And he knows that. And so there has been times where I'm going through it. I'm having a rough time. I'm like, bro, I just want to leave the earth. Like, just for a little bit. Like, oh my gosh, I don't want to be here right now. I don't want to deal with anybody. I just want to be in God's presence, something like that.
Yeah.
But I'm going through it. And all I think about are my problems.
Yeah.
And I have those moments where I feel or I hear Jesus go, how do you not get it yet? Like, how do you not get that? You're gonna look back at this moment and be like, oh, God's got me again? Like, he did it again. Like, how many times am I gonna question his faithfulness to me and his love for me? And it's like, oh my gosh, how could I forget? How could I not understand that everything was gonna be okay? That he was gonna take care of me? And so that moment, it's like, it's refreshing because it's like, oh, he's got me, so I have nothing to think about. And then all of a sudden, my mood changes, and I'm like, oh, this is great, this is so awesome. Like, and so, how do we get to a point where I don't need to get to the highest level of stress and anxiety for him to be like, how do you not get it yet? But for me to like remind myself throughout the day, even if things are piling up on me, it's like, okay, no matter what happens today, I'm gonna remind myself and understand that God's got me.
Yeah.
And understand his promises for me. And understand that if the birds are eating, I'm going to eat.
That's so good.
And the thing is, and it's crazy because when it's happening to other people, I'm quick to jump to that advice and be like, bro, and remind them.
Yeah.
And they feel much better. But I always struggle to remind myself.
Yeah.
You know, somebody else could be going through something, and I'm like, when is the last time God failed to meet, you know, your requirements? And they always just start laughing. They're like, you're right. I literally, like, there's been countless times where I'm worrying about how I'm going to pay the rent, and somehow, in some way, it always comes through. Wow. God always comes through. And so when they go through it again, I remind them, when is the last time God didn't look out for you?
Yeah. And
they can never answer me. And then they go, oh, wow, you're right. But how come I struggle to remind myself that in those moments?
Yeah. And I think the main situation that we deal with this in is when we have to make decisions, you know, because like especially big ones. Yeah. Like, of course, any big decision is going to be scary to make because it's a big decision and it has a great change. There's a great change. There's a great this, whatever that's going to happen because of the decision. So anytime we are faced with a decision, we begin to be like, you know, okay, I'm scared because I don't want to make the wrong decision. Right. And I think I said this on the last episode, you know, when we were just talking about like we were so scared to make the wrong decision. But what I've known, because for an example, right, like there was a moment like a while ago where I wanted to quit my job, and you know about it. And I was like, I just think maybe it's time. I just think it's time, and or not even that. Let's say before when I was getting a job, right, and I wanted a job, and so, of course, whatever job I got, like they want God to. I don't know if God do you want me to get this job or that job,
Right.
And so I just again started applying for jobs. I was like, all right, well, I'm gonna obviously have to get a job. I gotta apply for one. So I applied for a bunch, just a bunch like Dunkin', all these different jobs, just applying for jobs, just to have some,
You're telling me I could have got free coffee?
You could have.
Come on,
you really could have, man. I get, but I'm not working there.
Wrong job.
But I was applying for so many, and this one time I text one of my old friends just saying, hey, what's up? It's been a while, and then she just says like, oh, I work here like 2 minutes away from my house, and then it's like, oh, okay, interesting. And then like all of a sudden, like a few days later, I'm working there. It's just like those little things, and I can definitely say that because what happened there started a whole process that you guys know of for the OGs of just my own personal walk and all these things I had to go through. But like things like that, where just a simple text led me to get that job, where a lot of things happened that God knew what He was doing, and I knew God had His hand in that. Yeah. Like it's not until we do something, like we said before, then when we make the plan, the steps, like I think nothing was happening until I started applying for jobs. Right. I didn't text her until I started applying for. It's like, you know what I mean? It's like those weird. And I think about that. I'm like, it wasn't until I was applying that whole thing happened. Same thing when I was thinking about quitting my job, that I was like dead set. You know what? Yeah, I'm done. And I was dead set on it. And so the day of, I was talking to my manager or whatever, 2 weeks, put my 2 weeks in, and he's like, why? I'm like, oh, because I don't got time. I need to do my own personal like Jesus walk. I got no time for Jesus. I don't got no time for ministry. I can't do this. Too much hours. And he's like, all right, how about we cut your hours? And I was like, oh. And of course, that wasn't an option for anybody. But for me, like just me, special me, he gave me that opportunity for me to work those hours just for me. And it's like interesting, and like maybe God didn't want me to leave at that time, and I can see why. And so like little things like that, it's not until like I went to go do something, right, then that I kind of got his guidance in it. And it's kind of like, God, move the mountain, okay, but you bring the shovel, right? It's kind of like you do something, go like you're gonna go do something, and then He will just step by step, like we talked about before, which is what I've seen in my life. So I think that's just that is of some significance to share.
And what's interesting is that He always tends to wait till last minute. Yeah, like He could have told you that He wanted you to stay at the job way like weeks before, because I bet you were like stressing it, like, oh, should I not, praying, seeking guidance, reading the Bible, like God, I'm gonna open the Bible at a random page and it's gonna say quit your job or stay at your job. Like you were looking for all the signs possible, whatever, and nothing. You're like, you know what, like I'm just gonna do it. Yeah. And then God's just like, how about we cut your hours last minute? You had already put your 2 weeks in. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. God does that. God does that. And so why did He do that? For your faith. You grow in faith because now you look back and you understand, okay, no matter my time frame, no matter my timing or my decisions or my plans, God is going to guide me. And so that fear of making a mistake kind of starts to dissipate slowly. Yeah. And of course, like I said, I've had these conversations like, I'm scared. I don't want to make the wrong decisions. Like, no, just... use your wisdom, use judgment, make it your best, the best decision you can make, because like God will see that. God will see that you're making the best decision you think is best. And of course, God will be like either yes or no. Right. What happened with me. So like, just if you use wisdom and you really like try to make the best decision for yourself, like God will guide that. It reminds me a lot of the story of Abraham, bro. I was thinking Joseph. Okay, we can talk about both. But Abraham, what a man of faith. What a man of faith. That chapter title, Abraham's faith tested. Bro, can anybody listening to this podcast right now tell me they would be able to do what Abraham did? I don't know if I'd be able to, bro. Crazy. I really, really don't. I mean, his faith was tested consistently by God. That's why it's like a man of faith. Like that is a man of faith. The heroes of faith. Because, bro, I mean, by the end of this life, this man had to have just, anybody could have said anything to him. Just lay there, and he's like, stop. What? Like, bro. What are you talking to me? Why are you talking like the whole house could be falling apart and he's like, yo, relax. Like, God's got it. Relax.
That's
Because,
wild.
bro, this man went through it. You know, first God's like, I need you to leave your hometown. Like, I need you to leave to go basically to the unknown, something scary. And he's like, okay, I'm going to go. I have no idea what's over there. I have no idea who's over there. I don't know what's going to happen, when it's going to happen. I know nothing. God's just like, you over there, please.
Yeah.
Oh, shoot. Now I have to move out of that's like the definition of moving out of your comfort zone.
Literally.
Everything you're used to, like, you have zero idea. Like, nowadays, let's say God's like, move to, I don't know, Texas. If you live in Texas, pick a different state. And then, but, you know, you could look it up. You can look at what apartment you're going to move into, you know, what city, if the town is good. You can prep everything. You're not going in blindsided. Abraham,
Interesting. That's a good point.
Abraham, on the other hand, has no idea, bro.
He got no Google Maps.
No
He has
Google Maps,
he has no Safari.
nothing. God's just like, I need you to go over there. Oh, I don't know what's over there, God.
Is there like wild animals over there? Is there?
Yeah,
you know what I
he
mean?
has no clue. And so that's like the first thing.
Interesting.
And then God promises descendants when he's like, bro, how is that even possible?
Yeah.
Like that, what are you talking about? Uncertainty at its
I'll give you a
finest.
son.
And not to mention, when he finally has his son, this is the part I was talking about. God's like, yeah, I need you to sacrifice. And the son I promised you a long, long time ago.
That you finally have. And
That you
you're
finally have.
Enjoying him, you know, you love him.
Yeah, I need you to sacrifice.
Sacrifice him. Yeah.
Yeah. And there goes little man, old Abraham, and he's like, okay. Obviously, he wasn't like, okay. But he was definitely like, okay, I have zero clue what the freak is happening right now. God, you just promised me this son just to tell me that you want me to sacrifice him? I don't understand. Can anybody listening tell me they would do that? No. And this man grabs his son and he's like, let's go.
Oh man.
And until last minute, this man has,
He raised the knife.
this man raised the knife. Last minute, God's like, stop. There's a ram right there. Ram in the bush. Crazy.
Oh, that's what the song's for?
Ram in the bush.
I didn't
You
know.
just got it?
Yeah, I just got it.
Wow. Ram in the bush. Last minute, God's like, I got you. But this man walked with faith. He said, you want me to go there?
Imagine-
Okay. You told me this? Okay, I trust you. You want me to do this? Even though, bro, like, if you're able to wrap your head around that, you understand the severity of it. This man waited decades for this kid. Decades. God promised him decades before. And he's like, I need you to sacrifice him. Bro, I barely got to enjoy him. What you talking about? Okay,
we
maybe
should
if I
not grow
enjoyed
up.
30 years with him, maybe like, all right, maybe it would have been easier. I mean, maybe even worse, because at that point, you enjoyed him even more.
Yeah, facts.
But I gotta, no, bro, I can't. But that faith in the face of uncertainty, this man had zero clue what was about to happen. And so how do we get to this point like Abraham?
No, man, that's ridiculous. That's ridiculous. I'm not gonna
Yeah.
lie to you. It just sounds crazy, and like that's why it's like a lot of these things is that like you just got the son, and you're gonna that's crazy, and so many things I got, you know, in their stories, you know, of God telling people go this, go do that, and it's like that's crazy. Doesn't make sense to us,
Yeah.
right? But it's like that trust that like even though you're telling me to do something crazy, like, and I'm like, what the heck are you talking about? I know that like you're God and you know what's best. So like that faith is just is what I guess what kind of just fuels like the faith of like that of knowing who God is, that God is good, that He is gracious, He is faithful, He is loving, He is caring, He is all these amazing things. So whatever He is telling you to do, you know He's got you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, tell me about Joseph.
For those who know, Joseph, he had 11 brothers. His father was Jacob. Brothers were jealous of him because he was like the favorite. He had a really nice, tunic of many colors. Right? He gets sold into slavery. The brothers throw him into a well out of just jealousy and everything. He gets sold into slavery. He works in like Potiphar's house and he's working well and stuff. And then Potiphar's wife tries to do stuff for him and he declines. And then Potiphar thinks, and then his wife lies and says that he tried to go on her. And so Potiphar throws him in jail. And so he's in jail for a bunch of time. And then two people. He interprets two of the prisoners' dreams.
Yeah.
He says to remember him. When they go, they leave. They don't remember him. And then like years later, they remember him. He goes over there. He interprets Pharaoh's dream, and then boom, boom, boom. He becomes the second in command of Egypt.
Okay.
Talk about uncertainty.
He had no
right?
clue.
He had dreams as a teenager that his brothers would bow down to him. And to think that right after having dreams where he would, people would bow down to him, he gets sold into slavery and he gets thrown into a well. Like, talk about uncertainty. Talk about like being a slave in somebody's house and doing all this work. What was he thinking? Was he like, after this, I'm going to become king? He was probably like, I'm probably going to stay for the rest of my life. Wow. Being a slave to this guy Potiphar. Or I'm going to be in jail for the rest of my life. Like he was in jail for a long time. So think about that, being in Pot. And then of course everything was well for him too. He was in charge of everything in Potiphar's house, so he wasn't doing that bad. But then he gets put into jail for a while, and like jail is just jail. He was in that cell, just there for how. And then he became like he was in charge of everything in the jail too. But like, man, talk about uncertainty. Like he didn't know what was gonna happen in the future. He didn't know when he was gonna get out of jail, if he was gonna get out of jail. There's so much uncertainty, so much. Yet even in that, when we see things like the situation with Potiphar's wife, he says, "How can I sin against my God?" So even in that moment of like uncertainty, like, God, I don't know what's happening right now, he still stayed faithful. He was still keeping up those morals and living a righteous life. Yeah. And just thinking about that and putting yourself in the shoes of Joseph, like, man, I'll be done up. I'd be like, no, God, like, I don't care about God. Like I'm out of faith. Yeah. Like I'm at this place where I should have been this, and you gave me these dreams, God, or that. You gave me these dreams, Lord, these visions, God, but these visions and dreams aren't what I see right now. And it's been years, and I still don't see this vision or these dreams. Talk about patience. So much uncertainty, so much like not knowing the future, and just full dependence of faith in God. Talk about uncertainty. Yeah. And it's just like, man, you view that, but then you see what happens after. He could become second in command. He takes care of his family. He has his own family. His brothers that threw him in, sold him to slavery, goes to him for help. Now they are bowing down to him, and he gives them help, and all this stuff, that crazy stuff that happens. And Joseph is blessed, and even in those moments too, like I read it and I was like, wow, imagine that. Like he was second in command. He was taking care of his family. I want to do that. I want to take care of my family. And then the whole of Israel, like, it's crazy. And so you just see how God blessed him, and like all the whole plan he had for his life. And it's just when we see it from that third, that third person perspective of like how everything went down, like, let's be encouraged by that. Yeah. That regardless, and we talked about before, regardless of what's going on, we know that God's plan and purpose is way huger and way more bigger than we can ever understand. Yeah. Like, I don't think Joseph knew at all anything about that he was going to take care and ration food for 7 years of famine. He wasn't even thinking about famine. He was thinking about like anything else. You know what I mean? He didn't know that.
I mean, I could imagine what his prayers might have sounded like.
I don't even know.
A lot like some of the ones that we might make, where it's like, God, I have no idea what's happening. I was faithful to you.
What I do wrong?
Exactly.
I'm like just like Job. Like, I have done nothing.
Like when a bunch of when I was talking earlier about how things just pile up. Like, imagine those prayers in that moment. It's like, God, like, why does it feel like everything is going wrong? I don't understand. And I could just imagine Joseph asking the same thing.
Yeah.
And if anything, and I don't know if this might be the wrong mindset, but when I look at the stories in the Bible, it's like, why am I complaining about this stuff? Why am I, like, they just seem so little compared to, and obviously God cares. God cares about even the smallest details. And sometimes I need that reminder, because I'm like, I'm over here being upset about such a small detail. Like, God probably, like, I don't know. And I need to be reminded, like, okay, God actually cares about even the smallest details. Like, if it bothers you, it bothers him.
Like that.
But at the same time, there's times where I look at the people in the Bible and I'm like, I just lost a bit of money, and Joseph was in jail for 12 years. Like,
I had so much bigger things that I could worry about.
And so it's like, why can't I find like joy and rejoice in my trials and in my difficulties? You know, and it's like, just think about how much more faith the people in the Bible had than what we have now. Right?
And even thinking about it, even in those moments, like, yeah, Joseph was in there for a long time. I mean, it's pretty fair to say that he was probably like down the whole time. He probably wasn't always just like, oh my god. Like, he eventually
made the best of it.
You know, he made the best of it and like working hard for the people. You know, in Potiphar's house, like he wasn't always just like whatever. Of course, he did feel that way. Of course, he did. But I don't think that every single second, every minute, every day, he was just in a mood. You know, I think eventually he was just like trying just to enjoy it.
Yeah. And not even just that, but you know how people say like, look at the glass half full instead of half empty. In that regard, with God, it's like, once you realize and you remember how much bigger God is compared to your problems, your problems seem much smaller. Right? Like right now, if you look at the planet Earth, right? I'm taking a Earth and science class, so you know, this is probably why I'm talking about Earth right now.
Very nice.
Whatever. So if you look at the Earth is massive. You're like, bro, like it would take me hours to go around even on a plane because the Earth is massive, right?
Days, bro.
Yeah. But then you compare the Earth to like the sun, or even bigger, the universe, like anything else, like the sun is less than a grain of sand.
Well, the Earth is just a grain of sand.
The Earth, what did I say?
Sun.
Oh, I mean, even the sun, bro. Like even the sun will look like a grain of sand compared to the massive universe that we live in. And so when you compare your problem to God, all of a sudden it's a grain of sand, because you're like, you know what? God's got me. God is so much bigger than your problems. So much bigger than your problems. And you're not the first person on this planet to go through this. God's seen it all. And God promises to take care of you and give you what you need. And so let's trust him. And so in those moments where you're facing those uncertainties, it's like, you know what? God's behind me. And he's massive.
Yeah.
I'll be okay. I'm going to be okay. I'm going to be more than okay.
Yeah.
I don't want to be in Joseph's situation. I'd rather be in mine. 1,000,000%.
That's good.
I'd rather be in my, if you put them side by side, literally comparing anybody in the Bible, anybody, if you pick any character, I'd rather be in my situation. In mine, 1,000,000%. You can name any Bible character right now. I'd rather be in my situation right now. And I bet you a lot of you would say the same thing.
Same thing, yeah. That's a humbler right there.
It is.
That's humbling.
It is.
Very humbling.
And so the secret to rejoicing more in your difficulties is to increase in your faith. Redefine what uncertainties look like in your life, right? Because we are no longer uncertain of what's going to happen, but we are certain of who's behind us. We are certain of who our God is. We are certain that he's going to take care of us. So it's like, no longer am I dealing with uncertainties, but I'm dealing with certainties. And my certainties is that God's going to take care of me. So when you're saying, oh, I don't know what's going to happen. Oh, wait, I know the God that I serve. I know the God that is faithful to me. I'm going to be okay.
Love it.
Those certainties start to triumph over your uncertainties. And so it's really beautiful when you begin to grow in faith and trust in God to a point where you're just like, God, this could be happening, but I'm going to be okay.
Wow.
And it's beautiful. It's beautiful. How do we get to that point of faith? How do we get to that point of faith? You want to see more miracles? Like we've talked about it before. Like how come they had more miracles back then than they have now?
Yeah.
Probably faith. Because these people had that faith. Joseph, like, dude, I would love to hear the faith of Abraham or Joseph and be like, I wish I had 10% of the faith you guys have. I wish I had 10% of the faith they had. My goodness. And that's scary because it's like, all right, maybe I got to go through crazy stuff for me to have that faith. And I hope God doesn't make me do that. But that's the thing. No, I mean,
that's a prayer.
That's also why you go through trials. You mentioned in the beginning, to grow stronger in your faith. The whole idea is to grow in faith. And so the more trials you go through, the more faith you're going to have. And sometimes, like, when you don't get it, then those trials will continue to come because God's like, I want you to get it.
I want you to understand.
I want you to understand that I'm for you, not against you. I want what's best for you. Wow. And until you understand that, like, you're going to go through worries and struggles because, like, that's why we worry. That's why we have fear, because it's like that lack of trust in God. That's why we fear taking that first step, because we're like, God, I don't know what's going to happen. Oh, wait, but I know who you are. Oh, so I'm good. That's what we have to get to.
Love it.
And so it's beautiful. And so how do we have faith in the face of uncertainty? Be certain in the God you're serving. Have that faith. And I know it's easier said than done. I know. Like, my problems and your problems are probably the smallest fraction compared to some of what you guys have been through. And we understand that.
Definitely.
We understand that. And I know it's easier said than done. And if it's hard for us, I can't imagine, some of you guys that have been through worse or are going through worse.
Yeah.
But the formula doesn't change. The love of God doesn't change depending on who's going through worse or who, like, the formula does not change. The same thing applies to us that applies to you guys. No matter the difficulty, it's like, okay, we serve the same God, right?
Yeah.
And so that God does not change. And so we trust and we are certain in his promises and certain in his faithfulness towards us, no matter what you're going through.
Beautiful.
So
I would say even this,
faith.
just in the, like, what would be different is, I guess, the amount of faith considering the situation, I would say. 'Cause if you're going through something crazy, that faith you get.
Yeah, and God, when God pulls you through it, like, oh my gosh, it's going to be amazing.
Yeah.
It is really beautiful. But yeah, I mean, we're praying for you guys. Anybody going through difficulties, uncertainties, we're praying for you.
Yeah.
We pray that your trust in God increases exponentially.
Yeah.
That you right now just begin to feel an immense amount of peace. That the Spirit of God just rests wherever you are listening to this. That he just rests in your heart and in your mind, and all of a sudden you're thinking about him and you're not thinking about your problems. That you're reminded and you are certain of the God you serve, and you are no longer worrying about the uncertainties of life, because life is just uncertain overall. So we look at the God that is unchanging, the God that stays the same. That's who we look to.
Beautiful. Beautifully said.
But we love you guys. Thank you guys for tuning in to this episode. We hope you guys were blessed and encouraged by it. We love you, and we'll see you guys for the next episode. Peace out, everybody.